Welcome to episode 8 of Rewind Heroes. I'm your co-host, Greg Compton.
And I'm your other co-host, Dan Gaines. This is going to be your weekly video podcast where we talk everything in movies, music, television, anything that we find cool.
Anything we find cool. Not too much news that was cool this week, though.
It's been a very slow week, for sure.
It's been a slow week, but we've got a couple stories, and we've got some really good stuff because we're going to talk about DareDevil coming up. So let's hit the newsreel. Couple stories. Ready for that?
Let's do it.
Let's bring it on. All right, so it's been kind of a slow week in news, like we mentioned, but there is one interesting story, and that has to do with The Kingsman. Matthew Vaughn is set to direct the follow-up to The Kingsman Secret Service, currently titled Kingsman: The Golden Circle. So some of the concept art has already been released, including a few small plot points. So Eggsy and Merlin will return, and will be enlisting the help of their American counterparts, the Statesmen. Julianne Moore will also be serving as the big bad in this sequel. All right, so first of all, what do you think of the first Kingsman? Are you excited about this and any of this news and some of this artwork?
Yeah, I think overall for the first one, I went into it completely blind. I mean, I'd heard some buzz about it. People enjoyed it. So when I checked it out, I honestly didn't know much. I'd seen maybe one trailer, and even then, I think it was just the teaser trailer. So when I checked it out, I mean, once I got into that first fight scene, I was like, whoa, what kind of movie is this? So from that standpoint, I was very entertained. I liked Taron Egerton. I, for one, actually enjoyed Samuel Jackson as the villain. So I thought that it was a different kind of spy thriller. So I'm excited about a sequel. I'm excited to see where they take the characters. And based on some of the artwork that we've seen, I mean, it looks like top-notch stuff. What about you?
Well, the Kingsman is an interesting movie because I heard, but I'd not read the comic book.
Yep.
So all of a sudden, I see some of this video, and that's my genre. Spy movies are completely my genre. So I had an incredibly high expectation that this is going to be Bourne meets that, someone scrappy kid brought in. So a lot of it was good.
Yep.
I was something about the Samuel Jackson character. It just didn't do it for me. But that's the kind of character you either love or hate.
Sure.
So, but I think Julianne Moore. I could get behind that. So
when I've heard that, I was extremely excited about to see what they can do with her.
Yeah,
she's a phenomenal actress.
Exactly, and the Merlin character, I like that they're bringing him back. And Taron Egerton, now that he's taken that role, I think I'll like him better here than I did in the initial movie.
Yeah.
Just because I couldn't relate to, I mean, the scrappy character idea I could relate to, but where he came from, it just didn't resonate with me. But the fight scenes and the visuals were amazing. So I'm excited for this for a few things. I mean, you look at this artwork, coming to America, and all of a sudden you have the Statesmen. I think that is very cool.
Yep.
I like having a distillery as their headquarters.
That's pretty cool.
So some of this artwork looks incredibly amazing. They said it's going to be light on plot, and you kind of expect that, but you're going to...
I was going to say, it's one of those movies you go in and you turn your brain off.
Yeah, it's a popcorn movie, and now that I know what to expect from The Kingsman, I could go in here kind of set in that world and I'll probably enjoy it.
Sure.
Now, my thing is, and I'm curious what your take, the whole Statesman thing, I don't know, for some reason, the artwork, that idea is cool. That's ripe for spin-off. So my thought is whoever you cast, you have to be careful.
That's true.
Can you cast someone that could lead a film if you decide to go that route and make it another franchise? Or should it be a franchise? What do you think?
Well, that's the thing. I guess it kind of depends. The casting is going to be the biggest call on that, and I think that'll kind of tell us how serious they are, in fact, of going that route.
Yeah.
Because if they do cast someone that we're kind of like, who? And you don't even think anything about it, well, I don't see that happening. Now, if they get a big name in there or someone that they think is kind of up and coming, that the audience will, it'll resonate with them, I think it makes sense. So for me, it's a little early to really know if I'm excited about that idea or not. I want to see kind of how it unveils itself in the next film.
Yeah.
But in theory, I like it.
Yeah, because to me, I'm like, you need to cast the equivalent of like a Taron kind of character. So do you go, and this is just my idea on casting, the guy from Arrow? Because he definitely has the physicality. He's going to be in the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie as Casey Jones, which is an interesting thing.
I forgot about that.
But so it just makes you wonder, do you get a guy like him, or even sticking with that comic book stuff, do you get the guy from The Flash? He almost looks like an American version of Taron Egerton, too. I mean, he's not the most built guy, but neither was Taron in this.
Change that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe you get someone young like that could just be very similar physically and acting, but just the American slant of that character.
Interesting.
Oh, just a thought.
Real quick, I got to give you one little factoid about the first Kingsman. The Samuel L. Jackson character with the lisp, you know how they did that? Have you ever heard the story?
No.
So Samuel L. Jackson had a lisp as a kid, and as a joke, he read the first line like that, and Matthew Vaughn stopped the scene, he said, "That's it. We have to run with that." And that's why he talks like that in that movie. It was not originally written in the script.
Wow. Well, that's...
So, take that and, share it with all your friends, because, that's an actual
It
story.
was an interesting thing with the character. I could have done without it, but I guess it does kind of...
I think they just wanted to do something different.
You got to learn to punch someone pretty hard in the schoolyard if you got that kind of accent. And maybe that's part of what that character was. Well, we always talk Star Wars news, it seems like, and we don't really have any this week, but we do have a little Ewan McGregor tidbit.
Yeah.
You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Absolutely. So, Greg, for years there's been talk of a potential sequel to Danny Boyle's cult classic Trainspotting, which would involve the original cast. Well, Ewan McGregor shed a little light on this subject when in a recent interview he mentioned filming starts in May. The script will be based upon the novel sequel, Porno, that was released 10 years ago. Now, Greg, with a title like Porno, I'm very curious to hear your opinion on what the heck is this movie and what is this sequel going to be all about?
Right, and now that's the thing. You don't know if are they going to stick with that or are they going to stick with Trainspotting 2 just because, film audiences and the novel audience might be different. So, I mean, they haven't mentioned that. I'm not sure. Now, I read the first Trainspotting book, which if you have... Irving Welsh wrote it. It's written as it is spoken in this extreme Cockney accent, so if they drop an R or a couple letters and there's like apostrophes in the way people speak, that's how it's written. It's very difficult to read. I read that in college. Interesting story. The movie's pretty deep. I don't think you've caught that yet, have you?
I have not yet.
Yeah, I don't know. It was kind of a breakout for Ewan McGregor. That was his thing. He's very good in it, but it's a dark film. Maybe I need to read Porno so I can see where they take it. If it's written that same way, I didn't want to strain my brain that much, and I get it. So I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, the book was written 10 years ago, so it was supposed to pick up 10 years from now. If you're picking up with the same actors, you're really going 20. So I don't know. Trainspotting to me seemed like a one and done. It is what it is. You don't really need to move forward from it. So I don't know. I think it's just to see this cast together, maybe.
And I have not seen it. I don't know much about Trainspotting, but I guess I just beg the question, like, is there anyone knocking down the door saying we need this Trainspotting sequel? Like, obviously they're not thinking this is going to be the next, Independence Day style blockbuster.
Right.
So, I mean, I guess it's all about, they know the expectation isn't very high as far as budget, box office revenue and that kind of thing. I don't know. I'm just kind of curious to see what it'll even entail.
It was a Miramax independent, back in those days when Miramax was doing all that, and it was all truly considered an independent film. So, I don't know. I think it's more for the cast. I think that has an audience. Trainspotting has an audience, so I think it's for them. Maybe a bit of a love letter. Like, hey, we want to bring it back. We just want to enjoy the experience again, and maybe that's what it is. So, I mean, I'll check it out. I saw the first one. I have that one still on a DVD. If you ever want to borrow that and watch it, read the book. We'll see where it goes. It's nothing mind-blowing, but I think it's interesting when they've talked about it for a while. Danny Boyle said, I'd love to have one in 2016. You don't hear much, and then Ewan McGregor just drops this little line, we're filming in May. So that's kind of cool.
But I agree.
So we'll wait and we'll check out Trainspotting 2.
Cool. So Greg, what do we have next?
A little Hans Zimmer news. In other news, famed composer of many film scores, Hans Zimmer, announced in a BBC interview that basically he is retiring from composing music for superhero films. So among many of his scores, Zimmer has contributed to the superhero genre with all 3 Chris Nolan Batman scores, Amazing Spider-Man 2, Man of Steel, as well as the recent Dawn of Justice. So again, he's not retiring from film scores, but he's retiring from superhero scores.
Oh, sorry.
All right, so... What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so basically that tells me Hans Zimmer also thinks Batman vs. Superman blue. No, I think that, honestly, the fact that he did kind of the Taj Mahal of superhero films with the Dark Knight trilogy, I think it's like anything. I mean, Christian Bale didn't want to play Batman forever. Hans Zimmer doesn't want to score superhero movies forever.
Right.
Just the fact that he did Man of Steel, Dawn of Justice, and The Amazing Spider-Man, That'd probably make me want to do something different too. What do you think?
I will say, Man of Steel, the main theme that was in there with the timpani drums was very well done.
Yeah.
I liked it. I really enjoyed it. It's not going to go in the same vein as John Williams' Superman score. I'm not a massive fan of Hans Zimmer, and I know he's like the poster boy lately. He's done, you look at this, but he's prolific and everything else. He's done Inception, he's done Interstellar. I mean, he is, to Christopher Nolan, basically what Danny Elfman is to Tim Burton. And I mean, he's just done so much. He's done Gladiator, which was phenomenal. Love that score. So he's done some that I love.
And see, I love his score in Interstellar. That's one of my favorite ones. It's very subtle, but
it is,
man.
and that's my problem. He has some droning scores.
Yeah.
To me, Dark Knight, it's like, yes, let's hit one string on a violin and just make it annoying for 2.5 hours. That's just me.
Sure.
But now I will say his Sherlock Holmes scores, phenomenal. And he also did the Pirates of the Caribbean stuff, which makes you wonder. The new one is coming out soon, which they also, I should have mentioned that. That's the news that Paul McCartney has been cast as a small part in the new Pirates. So hey, more news for you. I just thought of that.
Nice, tie that in.
Yeah, but those scores were great. Now there's also some stuff that maybe he co-wrote, the first one with Klaus Balde. I mean, maybe, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. There's been rumor maybe he did the majority of it. Hans Zimmer came in, cleaned it up, and his name's top on it. So yeah, there's that. And then with the last one, some people said the last Pirate score was a little lazy. But I think, but really that score, I mean, he collaborated with Rodrigo and Gabriela. Which is acoustic guitar duo, and I thought it was a phenomenal take on it because there was so much Spanish influence in that film. So, I mean, he writes great scores. He had said he's done enough of these. Yep. The Batman stuff took about 11 years of his life. When you think of just how much time he went in and out of it, and he needs to have a new language, and that makes sense. I mean, you're in a superhero mindset. It's a certain kind of film. You've got to write certain kinds of music.
Didn't he even have a comment that this last one was really tough for him?
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
what I thought. Like to me, that's when you know you need to move on. If you're struggling with it and it's not, you're just not feeling it, why continue to do the same thing?
And you're still going to be doing action adventure stuff.
Right.
So, I mean, he's a guy, I love a lot of his stuff. Some of it, I'm not, as some people say everything he touches is gold. I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
But when he is on, I love some of his stuff. So, to me, this is just an interesting piece of news, but it's something. It's nothing huge because he's working. He's still putting food on the table. I think I think that boy's got a bright future still.
I think you're right.
All right. Well, should we go ahead and move on into some Daredevil territory?
Let's do Daredevil. Let's go.
Exactly. To the rewind. He's rewinding. That's what we're doing. All right. Rewind. The Man Without Fear is back. That's right, Daredevil Season 2 premiered recently on Netflix. We could have talked about it last week, but we wanted a little time to for you to catch up, and I wanted to get through the whole series so we could give a good take on all the characters and the development. So Dan, first of all, you just started with Season 1, and you've just been barreling through. What do you think?
Yeah, I've been on a binge now for the last week, literally, and I can't stop watching it. It was a show from the beginning. It kind of took me a little bit to get into it with the characters. It had a little bit slower tone than I think I was anticipating. But once I got about 4 episodes in, kind of learned, what type of show I'm watching, got to know the characters, I can't stop watching it. I think that it's got great character development. It's a brutal show. I mean, some of these fight scenes are some of the most intense, especially for television, that I've ever seen. But the best compliment that I can give is that never do I feel like I'm sitting down watching a television show. It's very cinematic. It's very epic. So overall, I can't say anything but positive things about it. What's your overall take on the show?
Well, overall,
before we even get into the season.
The show itself, I love Season 1. Season 1 was great. I didn't think it was quite as slow as you. Daredevil is kind of one of those characters I really liked as a kid, actually. So, and I liked Punisher too, and we'll get into all that. Yeah. So I really enjoyed the handling of the character. The suit, I was never fully sold on. I didn't hate it. I understand the tacticalness, and if we need to be able to see stuntmen do what they do on this show, you can't do that with a lot of the suits that are built for superhero things. So I'm okay with it. The helmet, they fixed it a little bit in Season 2, so it's better. But I'm so invested in it. I thought it was great. I guess we should first start with, we want to talk Season 2. Yeah. You're about 7 in. Yep. I want to really focus on the first, and I've seen the whole thing, I want to focus on those first 4, because I feel like that's Act 1 with the Punisher. Yep. What are your thoughts coming into season 2?
Yeah, so season 2, first of all, the introduction of the Punisher character, to me, takes the show to a whole new level.
Oh, yeah.
Because just the interaction with Daredevil and him, you realize, and you've always, I think, pointed out that line where you're one day from becoming...
You're one bad day from becoming...
Yeah, like that sums up that relationship and the way that they don't look at the world quite the same, but they both kind of have the same end-game goal, I think. But I loved that whole arc of that story and him trying to figure out what is his motive. Is he just a psychopath?
Right.
Or is he not? And I think, honestly, I didn't know much about Punisher before the Frank Thomas movie came out about the Punisher. In a way, that kind of helped me because I knew who he was, what he's all about, and it changes your perspective. I'd be curious what you would think of that character if you knew nothing about him at all.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would change your view on how that whole thing even comes into the story. But overall, I loved especially the first 4. I think that's a great... It might even be the greatest out of the 7 I've seen.
It's like a tour de force, that whole thing. I mean, and later on you get into the Hand, you bring in Elektra, but I think that first 4, it doesn't get better than that. No. I mean, it's a great show, but that sets a bar. And that character, I like the Punisher character too when I was younger, before you really start thinking about the morality of this character. I mean, I remember the comic books. I used to even love, they had Punisher Armory, which was a comic book that was literally pages and pages of... Have you seen the what's in your bag stuff you see online where people post like pictures of like their stuff they carry with you? It was like that, but for stuff to kill people. It was just all his armory, his knife collection, guns. Well, you think that's really disturbing now that kids could have picked that up. But I remember that at the time. John Bernthal just blows away the Punisher, brings him to life in a way that you never thought possible. You love and hate this character at the same time. Everyone is back on here. Charlie Cox, I think, does a great job really showing the struggle between being Matt Murdock and being Daredevil. Karen Page is portrayed again by Deborah Ann Wall. I think she did a better job this season than last because her character's purpose. Eldon Henson plays Foggy. I think Foggy Nelson comes into his own in this in a big way, and I'm really excited to see that character, which, I mean, he was comic relief before, but I think he's great now. Elodie Young plays Elektra, and I think she does a phenomenal job with that character.
That's a whole other arc of the story that I really dig. I know that we talk about the first, and we're primarily focusing on the first 4, but I actually, I would argue that I like that whole arc just as much as the Punisher.
Really?
I think it's just, it brings a whole different and interesting aspect of Matt Murdock's character.
That's true.
Because I kind of, before that, you kind of get the sense he's this goody two-shoes, he's always done things by the book. Yeah. And then you realize he's kind of got a past himself. He let the bad girl kind of influence him. So I liked, it added a whole other layer for me as far as that character goes. Yeah. And I think she does a phenomenal job playing that.
She does, and it's, I mean, all you had to work with was the Jennifer Garner, which was just not the character. And this still isn't completely the character from the comics, but it's better. I mean, at least physically, the look, But yeah, I think they did a great job with it. And the tempo, the pacing, the editing, everything, this is Act 2. It has a different feel to it. They ramp it back up at the end. I think it's a really well done series. I'll tell you one gripe I have, and I wonder if you have this too. And this is the video editor in me. The color palette they've chosen, I mean, when they treat it all, it's got this very... it's just like this greenish hue that's just over it. It's like over it to the point where, I don't know, I just think the color grading is too green. Do you feel like that, where you feel like, I heard, and this is kind of a vulgar way of putting it, someone said, I feel like I'm watching Daredevil through a jar of piss. Because it's this yellowish green tint that's just in everything. Really? I just feel like, I understand shooting dark for the costumes, but I'm just like, you guys could lay off the green hues.
That I will, but I'm not an editor by any stretch. That hasn't affected me in any way.
The last time I saw something like that was, if you think, The Matrix. Really had that, particularly the first one, a greenish hue. And I think it was to play off the falling numbers a little bit. I don't know, I think it's a little much.
It's interesting.
Are there any other thoughts on this series?
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of told you, Mike, right? And this is a minor thing. I might be the minority in this. There are times when certain lines are delivered that I do think it kind of comes off a little hokey. And again, it doesn't ruin it, doesn't take me out of the scene. There's just certain times where I'm like, really, no one would actually speak like that. Like, it just sounds very scripted in a way. obviously it is. But for me, there's certain scenes where I'm like, okay, yeah, that's how you'd react to that.
True.
But overall, I mean, honestly, I can't say, if that's my biggest gripe, that's a very small one.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I'm not even done with season 2. I can't wait for season 3. I can't wait to see which characters we get introduced to.
Yeah.
But Punisher's my favorite out of this whole thing, and I hope he gets his own spinoff. I don't know if there's talk of that.
I haven't heard anything yet, but that would be
And I don't
nice.
know, I guess technically I don't know where he's at when season 2 ends.
That's true. That's
yet.
true. There's a lot of things are wrapped up neatly. There are a few things that make you go, I want more.
Which is what they should be doing.
I will say they've ramped everything up. The stairwell fight sequence is amazing.
Okay.
One thing I've seen online a lot, everyone said that is the most amazing one-take shot since the hallway one-take shot in season 1, which was great. I will say one thing, from what I can tell, as great as it is, and it was amazing, the stairwell is not a one-take shot.
Oh.
It looks like it. If I went back to watch it, and again, it's the editor in me, and I could be wrong on this, but there are plenty of scenes. I mean, they're swiveling around. How many times do you see a villain like swing right by, and there is a frame where it's completely covered in black, where it's that person's back, or it swings around his back and it's black. There are about 5 or 6. Me and one of the other editors I work with watched this. We saw about 6 places that could very well be cutscenes, but it doesn't matter because it's done so well and it has that feel. I don't think
You're ruining the magic for our viewers.
I know, but I don't. I just, when I hear it, I do not, unless I'm proven wrong, I do not think it is a complete scene like the one take of. What was that with Matthew McConaughey, True Detective? That one take. The hallway was a one take, and then the other big one was we talked about the Spectre one take intro, which is really 4 shots that have been blended in together. So yeah, I just think they've elevated everything. If you haven't seen all of Daredevil season 1, catch up like Dan did.
Trust me, you can knock this thing out pretty quick because once you get going, you do not want to stop.
Season 2 it's a steam train. It's really good, so check it out. Well, I think we should go ahead and get into some recommendations. What do you think?
I think that's all the news and reviews we've got for this week.
At this point, we're not spoiling anything else for Daredevil. Just watch it, enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. Let us know what you think.
So, Greg, for your recommendation, do you have a band or some music for us this week?
I have a band, and I also have another recommendation I'll bring up later.
Excellent.
So the band that I've found is called Rivers and Rust. They're a duo. They are very much in line with Civil Wars, that Americana folk sound. They're great. Like I said, it's one EP, and it's Sheila Marshall is the female vocalist. The male vocalist and guitarist is Kyle Cook, and if that name sounds familiar, it's because he's the lead guitarist for Matchbox 20. And if you are from Indiana, like we are, you might know he's from Frankfort, Indiana. So we'll claim him.
Cool.
That's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
No, they're great. He's a wonderful vocalist. He did a song or two on the last Matchbox, or one song on the last Matchbox 20 album. And he's kind of done his own thing, but this is really great. It's been released. You can find some YouTube videos where they're playing kind of live on a couch. They've recorded it, but they don't have official videos out yet.
Cool.
But it's $5 on iTunes for, I think it's an 8-song EP. 2 of those might be radio edits of others, so 6 original songs, and it's like $7.99 or something on Amazon. But check it out; they're very good. What do you have for us?
Yeah, so I think when I think back, our first episode, I had mentioned season 2 of Star Wars Rebels. So this week, I just wanted to last night, or I guess this week, depending on when you're seeing this, the season 2 finale of Star Wars Rebels premiered, and it was an hour-long episode. And this season's had a lot of mixed reviews. There's been a lot of filler episodes, if you will. So I thought going into the finale was very, very important to find out where we're going with this show. Well, they did not disappoint. I'm not going to give any spoilers other than the fact this show wrapped up the second season wanting you to see more. We get Vader, you get the confrontation with Ahsoka Tano that we've all been waiting for, and let's just say that the old master that's teased in the trailer lives up to everything they've been hyping. So please check it out. It's awesome. The show is in a really good place right now, and it's setting up for a very strong season 3.
All right. Well, I have one more for you. One more, and that is not a band.
Okay.
I think I've only done one non-band thing like maybe once or twice. Freaks and Geeks.
Oh, yeah.
All right, this was a show, and I believe it is still, someone just mentioned it to me the other day, and I remembered seeing it, so I think you could still get this on Netflix, Amazon Prime. phenomenal. It was only one season. I wish there had been more, but in a way, when you hear what the creator said he was going to take it, I'm kind of glad it was just one season.
Is that right?
Yeah. This is a Judd Apatow creation. So the guy's gone on and done some things. I think he's got a future.
The people that he's got in this show.
Oh, you've got James Franco in this show. You have Linda Cardellini in this show. You have Jason Segel in this show. Busey Phillips in this show. And I might even be forgetting another big name or two. But I mean, it's pretty much.
Cast is great.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Basically, you're setting up high school life in 1984, it's early 80s, something like that. So the music's set up to that, just all the set pieces. You've got the main characters, Linda Cardellini and her brother, so she's like a sophomore, junior, and he's a freshman, and he's kind of undersized for his age, and he's definitely got his friends that are very geeky. She's kind of the outcast with the James Franco characters that are kind of the freaks. But it's such a good show. It's well written. And I think any generation can really just see the dynamics in there, the storylines, and completely relate. And if you are a child of the 80s, there's a lot of cool stuff in there. There's D&D mentions, some of the band mentions, just some of the stuff you see, it just really takes you back. So I say it's a great show. Check it out. I don't think it was it maybe 13 episodes? I don't know if it was a full order. It might have been a half order.
Yeah, that I don't have a
with
clue.
network. So
I can't remember on that.
Check it out. It's great. So where can they find you on Twitter?
Yeah, so on social media, you can simply find me at Dan Gaines. It's pretty easy. Basically, then also we've got our email. It's rewindheroes@gmail.com. And then please check us out on Facebook as well. What about you? Where can they find you?
They can find me at gcompton007 at the Tweeterverse. So, yeah, check that out. And I think that's all we got. So let us know what you think. Anything you want us to talk about in the future, just email us, write us on Twitter, and hit us on the interwebs. That'd be great. So until next time, be kind.
And please rewind.